Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, where we discuss everything in the world of Major League Baseball. As always, I'm Jeremiah.
My name is Ben.
And we're back again. We're back.
Back at it again.
We're back with another division preview. We're talking about the American League West today. And, man, we're just getting closer and closer to the baseball season. We have a lot going on this show. Of course, we're going to discuss the American League West in two segments. Then we're going to discuss the World Baseball Classic. It finally got underway this week. And, of course, we got to talk about everyone's favorite player. Well, we got to talk about your boy at the end of the show.
It's not my boy.
Yeah, he is.
No, it's not. I've never been a fan of him.
Okay.
If anything, it's your boy.
I was a fan of him in college at Florida. And then I was a supporter of him in his rookie year. But after that, I kind of lost hope that he was never going to improve. And of course, I'm talking about Tim Tebow. He's making his first spring training start today. He's going to start at DH. And who is he going to face? The reigning Cy Young winner, Rick Porcello.
Of the Boston Red Sox, yes.
Way to start off your Major League Baseball career in spring training, facing the reigning Cy Young winner. All right, well, anyway, let's get started with the American League West here. So, last season, the Rangers were by far the best team in this division. They went to the playoffs. They won 95 games. They practically, I think they can repeat again. Nothing really changed with this team. And I do think they're still the best team in this division. I still think they are. And when you look at them, when you look at this lineup, of course, they did lose Ian Desmond. He went to Colorado. But they still got some really key pieces there. They still got Adrian Beltre. They still got the Rougned Odor. They signed Mike Napoli as a free agent. And, Yu Darvish looks like he's ready to bounce back. He is throwing in spring training without any setbacks. But when you look at their projected lineup, Carlos Gomez, he kind of had a bounce back year after being signed by the Texas Rangers, because last season Carlos Gomez was just terrible for the Houston Astros. It looks like he couldn't even hit a baseball again. And then you got Sin-Sho Choo. If he can stay healthy, he can be productive again for the Rangers. Adrian Beltre, he pretty good season last year. Mike Napoli, being signed as a free agent. You got Rougned Odor. Jonathan Lucroy, who I thought was a really huge addition last season in the trade deadline for the Rangers. They got Nomar Mazara, who I think will improve. I remember Mazara was one of my top candidates to win Rookie of the Year in the American League last season, but he kind of falled off. And Michael Fulmer, Fulmer the Plumber, he kind of improved as the season went on. And then you got Joey Gallo, who might become the DH, and I do think he's going to improve. Remember, Joey Gallo was a guy who has a lot of power, but his main problem this past two seasons was the strikeouts. Getting the strikeout rate down. So I do think that's something to look out on. When you look at the rotation, they're still one of the good rotations in the league. They got Cole Hamels, Yu Darvish. I actually like Martin Perez. He did pretty well last season at times. They got Tyson Ross, Andrew Kashner, AJ Griffin. He kind of had a bounce back year a little bit, coming back from injury. But overall, I do think this is a team that's going to repeat again. I think it might be between them and the Astros. I think the Astros could bounce back again. But yeah, the Rangers look like to be the favorites in this division again.
I think the Rangers are definitely going to be benefiting from kind of a weak division because I don't think the Rangers they won 95 games this year. That's a lot. I don't think they're going to do that again this year. I really don't. I think they're just a year older from the team they had last year. I mean, Adrian Beltre seems to never get older. He seems to have production. He's been playing forever. He seems to always be productive. But it seems like they are getting a little older to me. I mean, Darvish, yeah, he might be throwing without any shoulder and elbow discomfort, but he's been injured the few years we've seen him in the big leagues. I seriously can't trust that he's going to stay healthy all year long. We just haven't seen it yet. Cole Hamels definitely past his prime, which we saw he was with Philly, so he's definitely a year older, and I just simply think that their lineup is definitely aging. Yeah. Of course, Rougned Odor is young, Lucroy is young, Nomar Mazar is young, but apart from that, everyone's just kind of older, and I think they're going to maybe hit a wall this year.
Don't forget, Carlos Gomez, I think he's only 31, so he's still kind of young that way. But, there's a lot of veterans on this team. I still think, he did say that they're a year older, but I still think if this rotation stays healthy, I do think that this team can go back to the playoffs. Me personally, I think the Houston Astros could be the favorites because they're a little bit younger. But yeah, you're correct. They are another year older, and I think if they can stay healthy, and that's the key. If this team stays healthy, they can contend for an American League West title again. And I think this is a very important year for Yu Darvish. He's been hurt in and out for the past few years, and this is a very important year for Yu Darvish and the Rangers because if Yu Darvish has another setback, another injury, I don't know, it's going to be tough for me to put him. It's going to be tough for me to put him on that top pitching list, and he's not on there right now because of the injuries. But you got to be if you're the Rangers, you got to be kind of worried about Yu Darvish. If he happens to have another year where it's plagued by injuries, you got to be a little bit worried about that. And don't forget, you got two pitchers who are injured as well. Tyson Ross, he didn't pitch all last year. Cashner, he's been injury-prone throughout his career. So you got to be a little bit worried about those guys on your rotation.
Definitely. That's where my concern sort of lies because I think they're really just benefiting from a weak division. The A's, we all know the story about the A's. They simply just cannot keep big-name players because they don't pay them. And then the Angels seems like it's kind of just a one-man team. A lot of bad contracts on there. The Mariners were okay last year. The Astros had a down year. And then it was the Rangers who just literally scored more than anyone else. They just really just scored more because they didn't really pitch great. They just simply put up more runs than the other team. So that could be the same result this year. I think it might be a little different, though.
Yeah, I do think this team is still talented. They still have talented bats. This is a really good lineup. I do think with adding Lucroy last year really helped this team. They also added Beltran last year as well. But I do think that Carlos Gomez is going to have a bounce-back year. He looked like a whole different player with the Rangers last season after being horrific with the Astros. Rougned Odor, if he doesn't get into any fights, he should be pretty good.
If he doesn't fight Jose Bautista and literally just clean clock him and knock his glasses off.
And I actually like the addition of Mike Napoli. Because Mitch Moreland has been the guy there. Prince Fielder was the guy there, but Prince Fielder retired due to injuries on his neck and back. I do think I like the addition of Mike Napoli. It gives him a power bat at that position. You can even switch him to DH. You can even put Joey Gallo at first base. You can kind of switch those two guys in and out. So I do like that from that perspective. I'm kind of expecting a really good year from Nomar Mazara. I'm kind of expecting a bounce-back year from him. Not bounce-back year because, he is entering into his second season. I think he's one of my breakout candidates this season because we kind of seen, the potential with the bats last year. I do think, remember, he was a Rookie of the Year candidate for me last year, and he fell off after not being productive in the final months of the season. But I think he can be a potential breakout candidate this year if he can be consistent for the Rangers.
Could also have a sophomore slump, though. You do see that a lot of time with second-year guys. So
yeah, and then that's the thing. I do think he's one of those candidates to have a breakout year. All right, moving on to the team that was second place in the American League West was the Seattle Mariners. They kind of made some additions. They made some trades. They traded, I believe, Tawan Walker, one of their guys, to Arizona. But they got some guys back. You know, they added Gerald Dyson to this team, who I absolutely love as their leadoff man. You know, this guy is absolutely fast. I do think he's a really good outfielder. He can set the tone for this team. Remember, Kento Marte was the leadoff man, but of course he got traded to the Diamondbacks in the in the Taijuan Walker trade. So you got Gerald Dyson, who I like as the lineup, the leadoff man. Gene Segura. I like that as well. He's another guy that you put on top of the lineup for speed. He had a really good bounce-back season with the Diamondbacks. I do think that's a lot of speed at the 1 and 2. The Dyson and Segura, that's like 60 bases potentially, stolen bases. I like that. And you look at Robinson Cano, we all know what he can do. Nelson Cruz, we all know what he can do. Kyle Seager, we all know what he can do. Mike Zunino, you know, he's been inconsistent throughout his career, but he's been a really good catcher defensively. As far as the rest of the team, you know, who is supposed to be in the projected lineup, you know, it looks like first base is pretty weak, you know, with Dan Vogelbach. Lenoir Martin, who is a really good serviceable outfielder. You know, he's a really good base stealer. But, you know, he doesn't really offer a lot of power in that lineup. And you got Benjamin Gamble at outfield. So it looks like there's a couple of holes on this team, but when you look at the top of the lineup, it's pretty good. When you look at 1 through 5, that's a pretty solid 1 through 5. And when you look at the rotation, of course, we all know about Felix Hernandez. I don't need to go on about that. But you look at Iwakuma. He's been hurt on and off his career. James Paxton, who I think could be really good. I actually liked him coming into the majors a couple of years ago. I thought he had a lot of potential. Drew Smiley, I really do like Drew Smiley. I do like him. I like him.
Is it because he makes you smile?
He did for my fantasy team last year.
There you go.
So I do like Drew Smiley. You know, he's a guy that can get a lot of strikeouts. But I think the key to Smiley is if he stays healthy. That's been one of the main things throughout Smiley's career, is not being able to stay healthy. But then you got, you know, Giovanni Guerrero, who can be the fifth guy. And then you got Chris Heston as well, who has starter experience. And he's actually throwing a no-hitter. So you got that. But overall, I do think this team kind of played out of their mind a little bit last year. And I don't know if they can I think second or third place is good for them. Because they might be a team that benefits from a weak division as well. But when I look at the overall team, it looks like this team might have to score a lot of runs when Hernandez and Iwakuma doesn't pitch. Because to me, those are our only two top guys. I'm still on the fence about Paxton. Smiley, I'm still on the fence about him, if he can stay healthy or not. But when you look at these guys from 1 to 5, I don't know what else you would get from this team.
I think the Mariners really depends on how far Cano and Cruz and maybe Hernandez really carry this team. Because we saw what Robinson Cano did last year. He was arguably one of the best second basemen in the league last year. And the season he put a lot of the Mariners' expectations on his shoulders because no one really expected him to do much. And then they're kind of like, wow, the Mariners are kind of doing really well. And a lot of it had to do with Cano. So I think it really depends on what he can do. If he can be that guy, that leader, that clubhouse leader that really motivates some of these younger guys. And then Cruz, we of course know what he can do with the bat, with the home runs. But if he could just simply continue the success he's had, then I think the Mariners could be a scary team.
Yeah, they could be one of those breakout teams potentially. They can be either bad or really good. That's the way I can go with them. But honestly, the key for me is how this rotation outside of Hernandez pitches. Iwakuma, he's been really good at times, but, he just had trouble with injuries. Paxton as well, and Smiley. I do think if this rotation stays healthy, then they could potentially contend for American League West title. But, I do think they can be one of those teams that can benefit from a weak division. All right, well, we're going to take our first break, and we're going to discuss the rest of the teams in the American League West, and that is the Astros, the Athletics, and the Angels. When we get back to the Going to Meet Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back to the Going to Meet Concepts Baseball Podcast, and this is the American League West Division Preview Show. And we talked about the Rangers, we talked about the Seattle Mariners, and now we're going to get into the team that finished in third place. They kind of had a down year. The Houston Astros, they finished the year 84-78, but I think that this honestly, I said that, the Rangers could possibly be a favorite. This is actually the team I picked to win the division. They're young. I think they just had like a down year, and they practically made some additions that were pretty underrated. They got George Springer, Alex Bregman, who was a pretty good prospect for them. He's about to be the starter at third base full time. You got Jose Altuve, one of the most electrifying players in baseball.
My opinion, the best hitter.
Yeah, and me too. I think he's the best hitter too as well. You got Carlos Correa, who I think can be an MVP this year. I think he's going to have that type of a season. Carlos Beltran, a really good signing. Is going to be DH. You got Brian McCann, who I love that signing as catcher. Josh Reddick, I think he's been a really underrated outfielder. He gives them really good defensive outfield right at that position. And then when you look at Aoki in the other outfield position, he's there as well. When you look at their rotation, they got Dallas Keuchel, Lance McCullers, Colin McHugh. But the thing about all three of those guys, though, they've had struggles with injuries. So I do think that if they can stay healthy, of course, the sky's the limit. And you got Mike Fiers, Charlie Morton as the 4 and 5 guys. And this is my team. This is my team to win the American League West. I just think they're going to have a huge bounce back year, and they're young. All their stars on this team are young, and we've seen how this team can perform. They were literally in the playoffs 2 years ago. I think this is one of the most exciting teams to watch this season. I think they're actually the favorite. They should be the favorite for the American League West.
Health determines everything, but what I love specifically is the middle of the lineup. The 5, 6, and 7 projected spots. Beltran, McCann, and Reddick. You have 3 veterans that have been in the league forever and know what it takes to get it done. That's great for the clubhouse and the young guys like Altuve and Correa. So I absolutely love that lineup.
And Springer. You can't forget about Springer as well.
Right. So I love the middle part of their lineup, that experience there.
Yeah, when you look at from 1 through 6 or 1 through 7, that's a pretty vicious 1 through 7 in the projected lineup. But yeah, you alluded to the veterans on this team that got signed. Riddick, I think he's in his early 30s, so he's still young enough to be productive with the bats. We've seen him be productive before with the Oakland Athletics. He hit 20 home runs one time. That's a huge ballpark. This is a little bit of a smaller ballpark than the A's play in. Brian McCann, I think he's been one of the most underrated catchers, probably one of the most underrated players in the league. Carlos Beltran, he is hitting to his 40s, but he can still be productive at the designated hitter spot. But yeah, honestly, the key to this team is the rotation. I do think if Keuchel, McCullers, and McHugh, if those three guys can stay healthy, this can be a really good team. Probably one of the most dangerous team in the American League. They can maybe challenge the Indians for the best team in the American League. They can be that good. They have the potential to be that good.
I agree. I think we saw it 2 years ago. They were in the American League Championship Series against the Royals. Keuchel was a Cy Young candidate last year. Struggled a little bit. Maybe he can have a bounce back year. A little injured. Maybe he can, of course, overcome that and be solid. But I do love this team. I love the mix of veterans and young guys, and they just simply get on base. So I think they're going to be a good team this year.
All right, well, leading to the fourth team in the American League West is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
I hate that, but I just want to call them the Anaheim Angels. Yeah,
I do too, or the California Angels, as they used to be called by. I kind of like Anaheim Angels a little bit better. But the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, outside of Mike Trout, there's really not a whole lot to get excited about this team. There's really not. When you look at from this lineup, I like Cole Calhoun, but he's not a hitter that scares anyone. He does have the potential to be like the 2020 guy, but that's all it is, potential. Of course, Mike Trout, he's one of probably the best hitter in the league. Albert Pujols, he is older, but he can still be productive with the bat. There's really not a whole lot to get excited about this team. And, when you look at the rotation, I'm not excited either. Matt Shoemaker, who is projected to be their opening day starter, he had a really good stretch last year when he was one of the really good pitcher in baseball. But honestly, Matt Shoemaker has been really inconsistent throughout his career. Garrett Richards, who's 2 years removed from that Cy Young injury. There's not a whole lot to get excited about this team. I do think that this is a squad still in rebuilding mode. But outside Mike Trout, there's really nothing a whole lot to get excited about the Angels.
They just have a lot of bad contracts, and they're finally getting away from them. It seems like they're almost going into I don't want to say a tanking period, but definitely, you said rebuilding. I think that's a good way to put it. Definitely an adjustment, because the Angels were competing consistently. They got Albert Pujols. They had Josh Hamilton. Everything's like, oh my God, the sky's the limit. And now it's like, well, these guys are getting a little older, had some really bad contracts, and then Pujols still being one of them. And it's like you have Trout, who's the best player in the league, but then other than that, you have just a lot of guys on the team. And baseball's not that sport where you can have one guy really make that big of an impact and change it for the rest of the organization and the players around them. It doesn't really work that way. So it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, I really think they will finish the same spot. They will finish second to last, because the team that's finished in last place, the Oakland Athletics, I still think I don't think they're going to win as many games this year either. They finished with 69 wins. And this team, they're constantly rebuilding every year. And even when they have huge stars like Josh Donaldson at one point and Giannis Cespedes, when they were contending, they don't know how to hold on to their guys. And I just feel like they haven't been able to build a farm system because they're not competing. Ever since they got rid of Donaldson, ever since they got rid of Cespedes, this team they just haven't been good. Ever since the A's traded Cespedes to Boston for Lester, and that was the year that the A's were in the playoffs. I actually think they were a World Series contender at that time. This team has never been the same. They haven't recovered ever since that.
They took a huge gamble, did Billy Beane, on that, because obviously you had Lester as a free agent. So you basically traded Cespedes for like a rental in hopes that he would sign a new deal, because you had people like Jeff Samardzija on your staff as well, where you could maybe try and push towards that World Series, and it didn't really work out. So then you're kind of like, well, we're kind of screwed now. We traded away the best player we had for someone we didn't get anything in return for because he obviously went to the Cubs. So it's kind of like they have to start fresh, and that's something the A's do extremely well. But the last couple of years, it hasn't really worked out. But you know what? The A's seem to always do well when no one is expecting anything out of them. And that's exactly what this season is. So you never know. They could surprise you. I don't really see it happening, but you don't ever see the A's doing well, and then they always surprise us.
Yeah, and I actually think this might be the year where Billy Beane pulls the trigger and trades Sonny Gray. I think this might be the year. Billy Beane has no intentions of trading Sonny Gray, but Sonny Gray, not too long ago, was one of the best pitchers in baseball. Even though he was hit with injuries last year, he's still young enough to recover and be really good. Remember, he's not that far away. And so Sonny Gray is their opening day starter. He is their best pitcher on this staff. And you got Sean Manaea, who was good at times. He almost threw a no-hitter, I think, once last year. So I'm expecting kind of a breakout year from him. You got Kendall Graveman, who was wildly inconsistent at times. You got Jarrell Cotton, who looks like he can be the number 4 guy. And this is a rookie. This is one of their top prospects that they got in the trade from, I believe, what's that dude's name from Kansas City? Oh, Ben Zobrist, who he was in that deal. So there's really not a whole lot of talent on this team outside of Sonny Gray in the rotation. Well, at least proven talent. And when you look at this lineup, the best hitter, when I look at it, the best hitter is Chris Davis, and he's just a power guy.
He either gets a home run or strikes out.
Yeah, he's the best hitter. He's just a power guy. Yeah, home runs are exciting, but he doesn't hit for average. He doesn't hit a lot of singles. He just hits home run, or it's either all or nothing for Chris Davis. So there's really not a whole lot to get excited about the A's here. But you are right, Ben. They always perform well when we don't expect them to.
Always.
But I do think they will finish last place again. Well, we're going to take our last break here, and we're going to talk about the World Baseball Classic, guys. And, of course, we're going to talk about Tim Tebow for a little bit. I know, I'm sorry. We're going to talk about it for a little bit, guys. I promise. We will discuss all that when we get back to the Going to Me Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the Going to Me Concepts Baseball Podcast. And the World Baseball Classic finally got underway this week. And we got some surprise teams. We got teams that are already out. The teams that have impressed me so far, Ben, is Israel and the Netherlands. They look like the most dominant teams in Pool A, because South Korea and Chinese Taipei, they're already out. They just couldn't get anything going on offense. But I do want to say this, point something now. I think in the first game for Team Israel, it was against I think Taipei, right? I think it was.
They played Korea and they won 2-1 in extra innings.
Okay, when they played Korea. Scotty Bertram got the game-winning hit, and you know where Scotty Bertram went to? He went to my college, Sacramento State.
That's mine too.
Yeah, how you say it? Alma mater.
Alma mater.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know why I can't say that word.
It's okay. Some people can't say words. Like yesterday, I was struggling so much with saying anonymously, but I don't have a word. I don't have trouble saying that word, but it just wouldn't work for me yesterday.
Yeah, so I was a little proud to be. From Sac State at that point.
Stingers up.
There you go. Yeah,
Stingers
all right.
Up.
That's the only time we'll have a Sac State reference on this show, unless someone does something crazy. But, yeah, Israel was one of those teams that has really impressed me. The Netherlands, they got a lot of help from Jackson Profor, Didi Gregorius, a couple MLB names in there. And they got real good talent as well. But the U.S., they haven't played their game yet. I think they're set to play on Friday against Colombia. Chris Archer is their starter going to be for that game.
Yeah, the Rays.
Yeah, so that game will happen they won't happen till Friday. So we have to wait a while for Team USA to compete. But as far as the standings go, the rest of the teams, you got Japan at 2-0, you got Cuba at 1-1, and you got Australia at 0-1, and China at 0-1. So that's Pool B, and of course the Pool C, pretty much the pool of teams where the USA is in. You got Canada, Colombia, and Dominican Republic. So that's a pretty couple good squads there. And when you go to Pool D, you got Mexico, Italy, Puerto Rico, and I believe Venezuela.
Yes, okay. Yes. I think that's probably the toughest pool is Group D.
Pool D is probably the most competitive and the toughest one. So that's something to look at. But, when you look at USA here, I do think they're in a I think they're in a kind of a difficult pool, too, if you believe it. I think there's some talent in Dominican Republic.
They're the reigning champs, so they're also the favorites.
So, you got them in there. I think Colombia can possibly surprise some people. Canada, I don't know anything about the Canadian team, to be honest with you.
There's a lot of good Canadians as well. I mean, a lot of major leaguers as well. So that's also a tough pool, but the United States, of course, one of the favorites. For me, the thing I've been most surprised with, Jeremiah, is the amount of runs that we've seen in the WBC. It seems like pitching has been extinct. We're just literally serving these guys up. So Netherlands and Israel in Group A both advanced. They will play each other. What's that game? Tonight, I believe. The winner of that game will be the winner of Group A, and the loser, of course, advanced already. But, I mean, Chinese Taipei in 2 games gave up 21 runs.
Yeah, that is a lot. They gave up 21 runs, and in Korea, they couldn't get any runs at all, so they've been one of the teams that struggle with runs. But yeah, I've noticed that too. We had a lot of runs scored. That's something I didn't really expect to see a whole lot.
No, I thought the pitching would definitely be a lot better than it is so far in the WBC, but it's still a little early. Like you said, Pool C and D haven't even played yet, so maybe it's just a little fluky, but we'll have to wait and see. Who knows? I mean, Israel, in their second game, put up 15 runs.
Yeah, I've been really impressed by Israel lately. I think they're going to be one of the surprise team in this tournament. But yeah, when you Pool A might look like I think they might be a breakout team in that tournament. I think there might be a breakout team that could give the Dominican Republic, maybe the U.S., kind of a really tough time. But, honestly, I think the winner's either going to come in Pool C or D. That's just me. But I've been really impressed by Israel, getting that game-winning run in Game 2 by Scotty Bertram of Sacramento State. There you go. And you got them scoring 15. So, yeah, I've been really impressed by them. I did say I was impressed by the Netherlands as well. They shut out Korea 5-0. Then they won 6-5 against the Chinese Taipei. But, yeah, I do think I love the way Netherlands and Israel has played. But, we're just gaining right in the thick of things. We still have to watch the U.S. play. We still got to watch, the Dominican Republic play. There's a lot of talented teams that we have not seen yet. But, honestly, I'm just excited that we get to watch competitive baseball again.
Exactly. I'm obviously going to be looking at a lot of what Japan does as well. They've been off to a good start, 2-0 so far. So we'll look at see what they do as well.
Yeah, and of course we'll update you guys next week on how USA does and the rest of Pool C and Pool D does as well. But we're going to talk about your boy, Ben.
He's not my boy.
I know, I'm just kidding. I just like how you get all riled up every time I say that. You're like, no, he's not my boy. But I'm just kidding. But no, we're talking about Tim Tebow before we go here. He's going to get his first start for the New York Mets today. And who is he going to face? Who is the starting pitcher? The Mets play the Boston Red Sox, and he's going to face the reigning Cy Young winner, Rick Porcello.
Yeah, it doesn't get any harder than that for good old Timmy.
Yeah, when you're Tim Tebow or when you're the coaching staff in New York, you're like, hey, all right, go hit some major league hitting there or major league pitching. Who are you going to face? Rick Porcello. There you go. All right, doesn't get any tougher than that. But, I was telling you this, there are odds on Tim Tebow's first start. They're full on odds, Ben. So, there's odds on if Tim Tebow will hit a home run today or during Grapefruit spring training games whenever he's starting. This is what the odds are. Yes, 13-1, and no, 1-25.
So they really don't think he's going to hit a home run?
No.
Okay, prediction for today, though. I say he goes 0 for whatever.
I think he goes 0 for 3 with a walk.
Yeah?
0 for 3 with a walk and 2 strikeouts.
How great would it be if he hit a home run?
Honestly,
off Porcello, too.
If Tim Tebow does that, he will literally break the internet more than John Ross did on Saturday with his 40-yard time.
I mean, that'd be crazy.
Tim Tebow would break the internet if that happened. I'm just going to be real. Because I know this isn't a football show, but John Ross, who is an NFL prospect in this year's NFL draft, he ran a 40 time of 4.22, which was the record. He broke the internet. He broke Twitter on Saturday. So I think if Tim Tebow hits a home run of Rick Porcello, he's going to run Twitter for like 2 days until he strikes out. I don't know. That's just the way I think. He's going to break the internet, Ben, if that happens.
It's not going to happen.
I know it's not, but if it does, he will break the internet. Our computers.
He probably will.
No, he will if that happens. But as far as my prediction, I say 0 for 3 if he starts the whole game. 0 for 3 with the walk. I'll give him a walk. That's a lot against.
That's a lot.
A walk.
Walk.
He's facing major league pitching. 0 for 3 with the walk.
That just means he doesn't swing the bat. Maybe 4 pitches go bad.
No,
I mean, he had trouble hitting in the Arizona Fall League. What makes him think he's going to hit against major leaguers now?
He's not. That's what I'm saying. I'm giving him a walk. Okay, that's good for a first start. 0 for 3 with the walk and 2 strikeouts. I think the 2 strikeouts will be with Rick Porcello.
You think he's going to strike him out both? He's going to want to. He's going to want to be like, okay, I'm not going to let this guy who shouldn't even be here like totally just embarrass me.
Yeah, he wants to. But what's your prediction, Ben?
He's going to go 0 for however many at-bats. Maybe 1 or 2 strikeouts.
Okay.
He'll probably make contact
That's
once.
Fair. So I'm giving him a walk. You're not giving him nada.
Yeah, I'm giving him a nothing.
Okay. All right, well, we'll see how Tim Tebow's spring training debut goes. We'll talk about it next week if he breaks the internet or anything. But yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. Come back next week. I believe we're talking about the National League East.
Yes, we have the East in the AL and NL left.
You're right. So we're going to talk about the NL East. We're going to discuss the World Baseball Classic. We're going to update you guys on how Team USA does. And, of course, if Tim Tebow does anything spectacular, we're going to talk about it because it's Tim Tebow, and everyone loves Tim Tebow. But, yeah, that concludes today's show. As always, I'm Jeremiah.
My name is Ben.
And I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, and you guys have a good day.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.